Alive. Alive.
We are alive.
Check. Okay.
Check two.
Yeah.
Let's just check the whole time.
Checkmate.
Oh, that's what I can do now.
I'm not sure how that works.
Well done, Queen's Gambit.
Thank you.
That's the best you could do is checkmate, and then you win.
Then you win all the prizes. Then you win all the drug money. Yeah.
Yeah, you're damn right. Yeah, she made everybody want to be a chess player and have a pill problem.
You know, I watch it. I remember thinking, like, sometimes you watch sports movies. You're like, oh, I wish I played basketball. I watched this. I was like, still don't care about chess.
Yeah.
Loved it. Loved her.
For a minute, it made me want to play chess. Then I'm like, never mind.
Yeah, that seems hard.
Before you say more words, let's let people know who you are.
Okay.
Not only are you a dear friend of mine for about 50 years, but you won Last Comic Standing. I believe the only woman to ever win the show. You had your own late night talk show on Freeform. You've guest hosted Jimmy Kimmel Live, which is very cool to me. You are a movie star now. Oh, just that. You were in Spencer Confidential with Mark Wahlberg. You have your own very acclaimed sketch show on Netflix, the Iliza Shlesinger sketch show. That probably gave away your name, but people already know anyway because it's in titles of things. 5 Netflix specials, I think. Mm-hmm. Huge hit Netflix specials, a book, a hit podcast. The writer, exec producer, and star of the brand new Netflix hit movie Good on Paper. It was just like number 6th in the country. Probably still is. An upcoming dramatic role in Pieces of a Woman with Shia LaBeouf. I don't care how you say it.
It already came out. It came out a very long time ago.
Oh,
it's okay. It's okay. We're also not allowed to say his name because he's not good for press. So we say Vanessa Kirby and Ellen Burstyn.
Oh, good. How was it received?
People loved it. You know, it's not a fun summer hang. It's a very serious movie.
Yeah.
But very beautifully made. And I think people Netflix bought it for a lot of money, none of which I got, but I was very happy for everyone else.
Yeah, it's fun to be in it. And most notably, she is the star of a hit Instagram live series, Don't Panic Pantry.
Yes.
One of the greatest comics working today. One of the most creative and hardworking humans, my dear friend, Iliza Shlesinger.
Thanks, Ben.
Thanks for being here.
Well, thanks for having me. Yeah, getting it in on a Friday.
Yes. I was so happy you said 1:30 and you didn't make me wake up early.
No, I wouldn't do that to you. I also know that you stay up very late. Mm-hmm. Like you really keep comic hours, even if you're not on the road. And so I know this I'll get texts from you at like 4 a.m. as if it's normal. And I'm like, he's a bat.
I've just started texting everybody at any hour. And I feel like texts don't wake people. And that's just part of being friends. And you'll have to get late texts.
If you are woken up by a text or a call, you either have children or you're a psychopath that you had your phone on or like someone's in the hospital. Don't have your ringer on. Go to sleep like a person. Yeah.
Agreed. Are you sleeping like a person these days at all?
I sleep very well. 9 hours sleep. Yeah.
How many hours?
I need like 9, 10 hours.
You just froze twice when trying to say the amount of time, and it's almost like you're lying the amount of time you're sleeping. Say it one more time.
No, I think Big Sleep doesn't want you to know how much sleep I get. It's 9 to 10 hours. I need it. And I know the cool thing is to be like, it's like I don't sleep or I'm really productive. Like Martha Stewart only gets like 4 hours of sleep, and some people are wired that way. I need a full hibernation sleep time. I need 9 hours.
Wow. I wish I could do that.
I've
actually been a lot better. I've been prioritizing. I get at least 7 or 8 most nights, but I'm on 5 right now.
That's 5 works too. I mean, I take what I can get, but if I had my druthers, I'll go full 9. Just really get into it.
What do you think the term "if I had my druthers" comes from? Because it always sounds dumb.
It sounds dumb? I think it's like an old English.
Not a word. What's that?
I think it's a derivation of brothers. And I think it's like, dear Lord, would that I had the strength of 10 brothers. And then maybe because Moses had a speech impediment. So maybe that became druthers.
I always forget Moses had a speech impediment, and I did too. And that makes us very similar. We're both leaders of men.
Very similar. Yeah. I didn't want to bring it up in case, but I know you have one now. I didn't want to bring it up in case. You never know.
Well, that's not the one that I was referring to. I had a severe one as a kid, but I still have a little bit of a list. You used to put that into your impression of me. You'd add a little bit of it in there.
Oh my God, I haven't done a Ben Gleib impression in so long.
Please try.
I'll do your old bit. It's basically, well, I like strawberry. If they can't see they can see me. So it's the hands. It's up here. Wait, where's the camera?
There you
Where's
go.
my camera? Here it is. How am I not going to? I like strawberries and I like vodka, but I enjoy them separately. I put them in one cup. That makes me a bitch? I don't think so. That was your bit.
It was. It's very good. You do one. I always tell people you do one of the better impressions of me. It's very solid.
It's one of the better ones. Not bad. The lisp is hard to do.
It is hard to do a lisp. So I have a lisp, and I do an impression of a guy with a lisp, and I can't even ever do it well. Strangely.
I mean, there's so many different kinds of speech impediments. I get impediment feels like disability. Like we don't use that word anymore.
I guess not.
I don't know. I'm not. Yeah, you're okay. I think you're doing okay.
Thank you very much. So, All right. So you're sleeping a lot, even though you're very busy. Do you ever feel like you are too busy? Do you like being as busy as you are? Because it seems to me that you're an insane amount of busy, even though you very kindly always text me back pretty instantly. You're always doing a million things.
Here's the rule. Like, you are seldom so busy that you can't text someone back. And people that do that, it's a power move. It just is. And I feel really guilty about that. Like, this is such a mercurial industry. So, like, yeah, you want to be cool and, like, not text someone back. Okay, a year from now, like, they might be in a position that you might want something. And, of course, treating people like a human is important. But, like, this thing where, like, all of a sudden you're too cool. I understand if you're on set or you don't have your phone.
Sure.
But, you know, it's always, oh, I didn't see this. It's like, no, it's 2021. Yeah. You for sure saw it.
It was an old joke of yours. You would take your phone and slam it down. Like, where does somebody go between one text and the other?
Where? Oh my God. Did you just throw it in the ocean? Like, I wrote back an emoji. Bye. See you at the Sprint store. It really is it's a character flaw. And in terms of being busy, I actually just ordered a shirt. I wore it on stage the other night on Etsy that says always bored. You know how like Post Malone has like always tired? I have always bored because even though it seems like I'm really busy, I'm like, it's never enough. I like being busy. I find it very soothing, and I find lack of activity very hard to deal with.
Fair enough. But how do you find that balance between work-life balance? Because you're doing all these things, and I'm very curious about your work days and your work flows, because as impressed and happy I am for you that you're doing all these amazing things, we have not had a dinner in years now, many years. We used to have dinners regularly. We have not had dinner in years.
I think it's a combination of working more, being married, living a little bit far. Like, it's just, you know, I was actually talking with a married friend about this. Like, your free time is that much more precious. And my schedule is that much more erratic. And, you know, when I was single, I was like, let's have late night dinner all night. And now it's like, oh my God, I'm so tired. I'm going to do this like early set. And so it's just that. And it's funny, the work-life balance thing, I've been asked that a lot recently, and I feel like it's a question, and maybe this is not from you, but like that women get asked a lot, like, how are you balancing it? How are you balancing walking and having breasts and making money? How are you doing that? And I'm just like, I just do. And I thankfully married someone who like totally gets it.
No, but that's a question much more than a woman question, because you get so much done. Like, I literally want to know how your days work, because you say that like, oh, I noodled along on this script when I was bored at airports or between things, and I worked on my book when I came. Are you really doing that? Are you really like not just vegging out of the airport? Like, you're writing a few lines on a script for 20 minutes in an airplane, then you hop to your book that night before bed?
No. It's never for 20 minutes. I mean, everybody has their study habits. I need to like carve out a chunk of time. So like, if I know I have the evening free, then I could sit and work. Or if I know I have like 5 hours this afternoon, but I never like boot up the computer and just like write for 5 minutes. That's just not me. So this is, you know, it's all about the optics, right? Like, you see on Instagram all the things. Like, I don't post campaigns. Someone else edits those, you know, and I don't post like that, like curated content. Somebody helps me with that. Like, we just did a whole thing for Netflix and the Comedy Store. Like, somebody edited that. Right. But I think when you don't get, and I think you'll understand this as a comic, like very early on in your career, and for the majority of my career, when you don't get the yeses from people, you have no option other than to be a self-starter. So like the book that like Girl Logic, I came up with the idea and I pitched it. The new book I have, I wrote it during the pandemic because I was like, I want something that I can work on. I want to feel productive. The cooking show with me and my husband, like it's on Instagram. We love it, but it was just out of a need to create. And really it comes down to not wanting to ask anyone permission. So I just create things and then you put them out there. It really is like 90% of the battle, Because I think a lot of comics, a lot of entertainers make the mistake of thinking like someone else will do this work for me. And it's like, joke's on you. Somebody else already had a full script while you were like sort of hemming and hawing over like pitching it. So always have something, because the inevitability is your project will not go. No one's going to say yes, but at least you'll have something else. So that's what it is. And these are like small things. It's not like I have, we happen to have a hit with this movie, but like, I don't know. My sketch show didn't get a second season.
You didn't?
No. Oh. And, these are things that you could build up to show a resume, but in actuality, I'm like, where's that season 2? Where's that big hit? Like, where are the big hits? That's what I always look for or try to make.
Yeah. I mean, you're that level of hungry. I mean, I would say your Netflix specials are those big hits, and this movie seems to be a big hit. Good on paper.
The movie is a big hit. And I honestly, it's one of those things where, because I'm like a go-getter, I always hope for the best, but I really do prepare for the worst. I was like, you hope you get good press for this, but I would understand if they were like, yeah, we released it in pages on the back of a bus, and we showed a little bit in the back of a cab and a headrest, and people really weren't into it. Like, I was very ready to be like, we dropped it on the platform. It really blew up in Papua New Guinea, but everywhere else, no one's. And this time it finally caught. For all the campaigns and all the projects we've done and all the crowd sort of surfing, fan base, groundswell kind of things we've tried to do, this one caught fire. But this is several years in the making.
Do you think it's to some degree because we have reached peak liar in our society and people are very interested in learning about the brain of a liar?
I don't know. It's interesting because this happened, as you know, and I wrote this before Dirty John. And I remember when Dirty John came out, I read about it in the LA Times, and I was like, oh, that's cool, because I thought it was just me. I don't think we've reached peak liar. And I say that because I think a lot of people still think that this is a freak thing. And what I've realized in releasing this movie, and my DMs can attest to this, is that like, this is a ubiquitous thing. This is pervasive. This happens to you or someone you know. And so I think it's a combination of people being intrigued by our rom-com twist or rom-con, maybe liking me, and that we actually made something funny. And the painstaking care I took to make sure the women weren't reduced to like stumbling idiots.
So much to unpack there, because I just mean peak liar as far as our society. I mean, we've just had a president that just lied with impunity, and like facts
don't exist
anymore. I don't remember his name, but he had a hue issue in his skin. But we just live in a place where like there is no fact, there is no reality. So I think a movie kind of centering on a great con is maybe more interesting at the moment. Maybe that helped with the zeitgeist. I'll take it. Even if people only wanted to see a girl in red because it was a fetish, like, I'll take it. You like whatever hook you need to watch my movie, I'll take that click. That's what I mostly loved about it. And I didn't even notice you're wearing red. So it's a fetish I don't even know about myself, but I also know it. You know what I mean? Red induces passion. I don't wear red, and my director wanted her in red. And I was like, I'll give you like one jacket, one shirt, but I'm not wearing red pants. My girlfriend was wearing red pants this morning. It's a vibe. It's just, I like to minimize the under area. So we do jeans, we do black. We don't do red pants. Hide the haunches. Is that your hide the haunches. Just don't make it a thing. You get on stage, people are staring. You're like, I get it. I'm a healthy person. Now let's move on. I was hanging out at a party, total name drop, but with Lily Tomlin, and she liked my shoes that were black, but they had a little strip of white in the bottom. She's like, I could never wear that on stage. Just the little strip of white would distract people from what I'm saying. I'm like, well, seems a little harsh, but okay. No, she's absolutely right. I mean, part of it is in your head, but part of it is like that thing where when you're a woman, people are just staring, for better or for worse, like analyzing. You don't want a shirt with like too many words on it. The pants are too tight because it's just one more little hurdle. But that said, didn't you go ahead? Well, I was just gonna say, because you'd be like, why don't you dress up on stage? And you and I have very different approaches, and I believe my comedy is an extension of who I am. So I am casual on stage because I am casual in real life. I don't wear dresses really in real life. And for your specials, you don't really do that. You dress up, and then even for TV appearances, you dress up a lot more than in life. Yeah, but it's different because your special, the audience is there for you on your side. It's not like it was in the clubs where you're like, I hope this is cool.
and a specialist, something that's like canonized. So you want to have looked great. But even in those, like, it's still like, I'm never wearing a dress. And it's fine if girls do, because that's just, if I had an option at an event, I would pick pants over a dress. And if you're like a guest on a panel, you can dress beautifully because you don't have to sing for your supper. So it's like, oh, great, I can step into something that's not as comfortable because I'm not worried about looking like a goblin or whatever I have to do.
Right, you get to kind of be the fantasy of Hollywood for the night because you earned that already.
Yeah, dress it up, put on some shellac, slap in some hair.
So, all right. So, Good on Paper is the story of a boyfriend of yours who you met on an airplane and who just basically lied about everything he told you. I remember the guy. You brought him to my old apartment in Hollywood. And I feel like my memory tells me that he looked a lot like the guy you guys cast. Is that right?
I mean,
the vibe, at least, like definitely like the essence and the vibe.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I mean, Ryan Hansen's definitely like a handsome person, and he wore these big fake teeth, which the Dennis Kelly in real life didn't have. But we gave him glasses, and I think in real life, Dennis Kelly had like a very unhealthy look. It's just a different, but we tried to dork him up in this movie as best we could because Ryan's not ugly.
So I remember when he was in my apartment, and I remember just not liking him very much. I don't think I told you.
Tell me more.
That's a hard thing to tell a friend, but I remember very vividly he was standing in my doorway. For a long time, he also like didn't come in. It's almost like he didn't. I just had the feeling like he didn't want to like really get to know me or have like a full hang experience. Almost like he was just there to kind of like check a box, and then because we were going somewhere, we were like meeting there and getting out.
Were we dating or were we friends? Because he and I were friends for the year. Okay, because we were friends for that full year when most people met him, but we were dating because we dated for 3 months, so it was in that time. Okay.
Yeah, we were dating because I was especially curious to like, analyze him and make sure I approved. And I remember he had on a sweater, kind of a sweater type of sweat kind of thing, very preppy. I think a collar out of the top of it. And he just
we don't even have the words in LA. We don't even have the lexicon for like a sweatery thing. I don't know. Yeah. Anyways, you were saying.
And I remember thinking like, okay, like he was polite. Like there was nothing that I could have said I didn't like, but I just didn't get like a warm, like, oh, he's a great dude feeling like, yeah, Iliza found somebody fucking awesome.
Right.
I was just like, oh, check some boxes.
Fair enough. I mean, what's crazy about all of this is like, as in the press in the last couple of weeks, the friends who have reached out to be like, oh yeah, like we had drinks with him. And I'm like, oh, that's right. Like I did not go through this alone. Like my friend, we met because we were always going out for drinks, right? Going out to go do something very social. And it was always, and it was always with my friends. It was always on my time, which is what made it so easy because who doesn't want it to be like always with your friends on your time, but I guess your senses were right. And also, it's that thing where, you meet the guy and you're like, I guess I kind of don't like him, but look, he makes her happy and it should be fine. And maybe it's a bad impression. It wasn't like he did anything egregious, but I think you're dead on. He probably didn't want to come in because, he lives in a mansion and that was an apartment, or at least that's what he wanted to do. And he probably didn't want you to dig and get to know him because who knows? Or maybe, what if you're like, oh my God, I know you. And then it would all be over. So it was I think that's why he was always very accommodating, but also the first one to be like, I've got this round of drinks. I'm buying the drinks. Like if he could stay ahead of it and always be congenial, nobody would dig too deep because he's the guy buying the drinks. But I remember he always wanted to buy drinks for everyone, like even grown men. And I'm like, it's a little, you don't need to do that. Mm-hmm. I don't remember where we went that night. Anyway,
you might have bought me that night now that I think about it. But so I remember then when the whole charade came undone, and I don't think we like really like talked about it in depth. We just texted about it and you were like, this whole thing was a lie and you were very shell shocked.
Yeah.
And how long did it, like, how much of a trauma was this in your life? How much did it then affect your instincts of your ability to trust people? Did it scar you for a long time? Was it hard to get close to people after that for a number of years, or what was it?
Yeah, I get asked that a lot. I was shell-shocked is a great way to describe it. I don't remember much because I think it's like one of those traumatic things that you kind of just like block out. I remember crying to a friend on the phone, like hysterical scream crying. And then I remember coming home from discovering that his mom had lied, that he had lied about his mom having cancer. and I fell asleep for like 15 hours. Like just like a blunt force trauma. Like your body just goes into that. And trying to put those pieces together, and there's no real way to reconcile that and wrap your mind around it, because you don't ever really get the closure you need, which is part of writing the movie, was me providing my own conclusions and a fake ending and closure like that, giving it to myself. But I remember thinking, because I'm a pretty mentally healthy person, I remember thinking, I will not allow this to affect the way that I treat people. I just won't. Like, this will not be a lasting effect. I think a lot of times something traumatic happens and we're like, and now I'm like that because of this. Now look, there are horrible things that happen and they are out of your control, and this has nothing to do with anyone's experience but my own. And I just decided I'm not going to allow that to affect me. And so with the two guys that I dated subsequently, who were lovely, who I knew already, I was just very open about how I was feeling and how I kind of didn't want to be someone's girlfriend. We could hang out, we could take it super slow. And they were both just cool about it. And then, you know, a couple months go by, you're dating someone, whatever. And then I went through a period of just kind of doing whatever I wanted, and in a good way, just being selfish and just working through it. But I never wanted to pay it forward. I didn't trust people. You know, it was just, I just decided that was a freak thing and we're going to move on. And we're not going to let him have a presence.
Something to that effect. You said something like, what a crazy psycho asshole, but that's him. That's not me. Like, what do I like? It's just, I wouldn't expect him to fucking lie about everything. All right. So I fell into a mistake.
Yes. And you know what? Would do it again, because I don't want to go through life questioning basic things about people. It wasn't people, you know, they were so harsh when I first told it and had so many mean things to say. And I'm like, he didn't tell me he was the king of space and had like a fleet of rockets. Like,
you would have seen a red flag if he did, right?
I would have seen something.
If he says he's the king of space, I would hope you would maybe be like, are you?
Even if he was like, I'm royalty, I'd be like, are you a Nigerian prince? But like, you're like, I went to a school that like my friends went to. We know plenty of people who went to Yale. It's not like I came from like a holler in West Virginia and I've never heard of Yale. Like, it's normal to have gone to Yale. So why would I question that? It's not the world's greatest achievement. I mean, I couldn't get in there, but so these are not things that you would question.
Sure. Yeah. So while we're on the topic of dating people, when did you decide you're not going to date athletes anymore?
I dated one hockey player. And what's funny is people will be like, so is that the guy you're married to? I'm like, we dated when I was like 27. I'm 38. This is a decade ago.
Not that long ago? Jesus.
I actually don't even know how, but it was just, and he was a retired hockey player. So it wasn't a decision as much as just, it wasn't it wasn't a decision. I don't think any woman's like, no more rich athletes.
I have such a random memory about him that you told me one time we were in my car and you said, he likes my socks, so I wear certain socks for him. And I'm like, what a weird.
I don't remember that. Maybe it's like cute socks, because it wasn't like a fetish thing.
And maybe like doing that for him.
Maybe it was like knee high, like athletic socks. I did a lot of that, but it was also like the mid 2000s, and I think like that was kind of in.
He was this hockey player dude, and I always remember he was pretty nice too. But I always, just maybe because it was a hockey player and kind of his demeanor, I expected him to get mad at any moment. He never really did, but I expected him to kind of lose his shit.
No, he was super sweet, and he's super sweet, very cool about like my friends or whatever, and everybody's got that. I really don't, for as much as like I talk about male-female relationships, I don't really have bad things to say about my exes. Part of it is like, I've been married for 3 years, like who even thinks about that? But like, I don't really date guys who treat me like shit. And if somebody seems like they're going to be weird, we don't go out again. I don't put up with it. So I've really had nice experiences, so it's not as tumultuous as one would hope from a comic.
Fair enough. I guess there's not a lot of extra movies coming out then from your past relationships.
We'll see if the money comes through. No, there's nothing there. Then it becomes your weird revenge brand. No, this was just a freak story I told.
So in the movie, I don't want to give too much away. Bless you. I don't want to give too much away from the movie, but I have a question that kind of gives away. So I'll try to say it.
I think it's okay.
Okay.
You know what? Spoiler alert. You can pause the pod.
Okay.
Or just fast forward like a full minute.
So spoiler alert. You made this kind of fantasy ending where you kidnap him.
Mm-hmm.
And then Why did you actually kidnap him?
No, we'll go finish it and then I'll say my thing.
I was going to say, so that was a cool, like, fun fantasy ending, but then I'm curious why then you also fictionalized that he then sued you and, like, you were put on trial and you kind of lost after that.
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, I didn't want to have a courtroom scene because we've seen so many, and I was nervous that I wouldn't be able to write a good one. They're very hard to do because none of us, for the most part, have like been to a trial. Yeah. So we really only have like Law and Order based off of. So a friend of mine, Mark Wallenstein, who's like a prominent judge in Hawaii, who unfortunately went to my same high school, so I have his number.
I thought that was Mark Wahlberg's Jewish name before he changed it.
Yeah, as if Wahlberg doesn't sound Jewish enough.
That's a good point.
But he was very kind and like let me ask him a bunch of questions. I should have put him in the thank yous. I may have. And so it was this thing, like that scene, I rewrote it a bunch because basically, if you really look at that scene, and if you look when they're in the courtroom, his judge gives the definition of torture. And the definition of torture is not what she did. And if you really look at it, they didn't kidnap him. He passed out because he drank too much. This idea that someone got him drunk is insane. You're a grown man. He drank too much, passed out. They just wanted to sit him upright so that he could have like blood flow. They accidentally hurt him with the thing that they do to hurt him. I don't want to say it, but it is an accident. He was never tied up. And even she says at the end, like, you could have untied yourself. Like it was, he was weakly tied up.
He was weakly tied up.
He was just attached to the chair, but like his arms weren't tied up. And I wanted a court scene because I didn't want, even though it's a revenge fantasy, sort of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood revisionist twist, I didn't want her to come out super victorious because nobody wins in this situation. And I definitely didn't want him to come out looking good. So I was like, what's the most realistic thing? Since you don't have the facts, a restraining order, he gets away, but she gets the thing she wanted. So I didn't want it to be that he taught her a lesson in any way. Right, I wanted it to just be a very as rooted in truth as possible ending.
Has he ever reached out to you in life after all that went down?
No. After all the fake kidnapping? No. Yeah. And I'll tell you the one time he reached out. So this all happened.
Yeah.
And then I found out about the mom not having cancer. I don't think we'd spoken to them. There may have been like an email or two exchanged, but I don't remember. And I went about my life. And this is like a couple months later, I went to a friend's wedding in St. Martin, and there was a nude beach there. And so I'm with like people I've known since I'm like 3 years old at this wedding. And so I go on the nude beach and like I take a picture with my hands up, and my friends like put their hands in front, like to shake hands in front of my boobs. So I'm not going to put that on the internet. And I posted it because, you know, you're 31, you're single, who fucking cares? And I got an email from him like reprimanding me. This just shows you sort of like the narcissism. Wow. And he was like, my friends, as if he has any friends, which is also probably a lie, told me that you posted this. This felt very pointed. I'm so disappointed that you would do this. And I unleashed. Wow. I so rarely do women get to like say the thing they want to say. I just unleashed. I was like, how fucking dare you ever reach out to me? You're a fucking liar. The world knows you're disgusting. Like I just let him have it. And I don't know if he never wrote back or if I blocked his email because I didn't want the response. But that was years ago, and nothing.
I wish it was illegal to do what he did. Like, it's not illegal to lie if there's not like proven damages, right? Like,
you know, that's the thing. It's not illegal to lie, and it's always that thing. We talk about this in the comedy community. There's so many guys who do horrible things, but they're not illegal. Like, unfortunately, being a scumbag isn't illegal. Cheating on your girlfriend, on your wife, isn't illegal. Telling, like saying horrible things aren't illegal. And so a lot of people live in that gray. I debated, we were talking about this it was on Joe Rogan's podcast. And I was saying how like crimes of passion are legal. Like if you can prove that you're normally a good person and this person just incited this rage based on something amorous, like you can get away with murder.
It's so crazy. Your Honor, you don't understand. I killed the person, but I was very in love.
And the judge is like, I got a dick too. I understand rage. It's cool. It's the 1700s. We'll let it fly.
What? It's the 2000s? Let's still let it fly.
We'll leave it. But yeah, it's not and I think that was part of in writing the movie. I was like, I need to have some sort of way that I show that I came through this and I'm okay. And so revenge is so dirty sounding to me because it's not about, I don't care if this person ever sees the movie truly. It's really more
about making sure you're okay. And as an artist, I just made art to feel better.
Yeah, it's about a movie. You get to have the ending you want this time.
And happy to never see this person again. Happy to never cross paths.
So you said it was very important for you to make sure the women in the movie were not your typical two-dimensional movie women. The relationship between you and Margaret Cho's character was very real and grounded in your real life best friend. But then also I was interested in the movie, your rival character, the actor that you kind of hate. You've been open, you've been in some interviews saying that like people aren't allowed to say it, that you fucking hate somebody or you see them as the enemy, but in fact the truth is that you do see it that way. Do you still see people that way? Do you see other women that way in a competitive way? Is that something you want to work on? If so, or you think it's just the nature of things?
I think it's the nature of things. I think the more success you get, the less you are pit against other people. Now, it never ends, and for women, I do think it's worse. But, you know, Serena Halstead is less about a specific person and more about the embodiment of that pressure and that constant, like, oh, you do this, so does that other person. Oh, Ben, you host a show. What do you think about this other host? And it's not that you dislike that person, but sometimes you're just like, oh my God, like there can be more than one of us. Like, stop comparing. And I always thought it was so personal, but then I'd read interviews of like musicians and people always bring up other musicians of a similar caliber. You know, everybody has that person. For a lot of people, I may be their Serena Halstead. And it really does, you know, it's cheesy to be like, you are your own biggest competition. But to an extent, it is true because it takes time to really wrap your mind around, like, you are in control of this. Somebody's not giving you a gig. You can go write your own movie. You can go work on something else. So I didn't want to make Serena a villain, and I didn't want to make Andrea like win in the end. I wanted Andrea to like come to the conclusion, like, well, you were working on stand-up, she was working on acting, and you're not owed anything. But I wonder if there's something in more competitive people or more successful people that actually amps that up. Because like I've accomplished a fair amount of things, but when I compare myself to like when I look compared to your number of accomplishments and focus, and I sometimes get I do a lot of things, but I kind of spread it out and I don't focus all the things on my career and on my next step. I'll then produce a telethon and I'll do the things that don't advance my career. The next thing, where you're very focused on your career. But I certainly sometimes feel competitive with my male cohorts, but I've never seen a billboard of one of them and been like, fuck you, like you do in the movie. Like, God damn it. I've never hated anybody that's making it. I wonder, is that something maybe I need? Is something you need? Or is that just you're extra competitive? I think it's just the way that you operate, you know, and I think that's tied to the fact that rather than do X, Y, and Z, you'll do that telethon, you know, because that feeds you, and that's not bad, you know. And I do art that feeds me. By the grace of God, I have this stand-up career, and I don't have to audition for a show that I don't think is funny. I don't have to take a gig ever that I don't want. So I only ever do things that I want to do, and I work very hard to be able to do those. But you know, these are not things that are hitting on a large scale. And I have to say this, the middle finger thing, you know, Kimmy Gatewood is our director, and she was great. And she comes from a very like female forward, like glow. Like she's got all these incredible women in her life, and they're also supportive. Kimmy wanted me to flip off the billboard. I would personally never do that. It's just not the way that I demonstrate frustration. It's more of like a rant at like my husband. So she asked me to do it. So I did it. And then I remember I was like, I did it for her as like a creative compromise. And then at the end, she was like, flip it off again at the end. And I was like, I don't want to, because it's just not the way I would express it. But I had Andrea do it in that moment to convey how frustrated she was. And it is frustrating. It's frustrating when you are working on especially if you ever get compared to someone who you don't have respect for. Like it would drive you crazy, Ben, if like you were always getting asked about someone who had a podcast that they'd been doing for a year and like only went up at like a local dive bar. You'd be like, I don't respect this. Like, why do you keep? They'd be like, well, your parents are both Israeli. You'd be like, okay, we're not the same.
That is the times when it gets annoying, when someone's like coming out of nowhere and you're like, why is their name fucking all of a sudden everywhere? I've been working so hard to get my name.
Yeah.
Exactly. What you want is to be compared to someone better than you. And when you are compared or asked about someone that you don't respect or you don't really know, you're just like, can I live? Like, can I live? Can I just do my shit? But it happens. And I've definitely made peace with it. But Serena Halstead is not, she's Beyonce. I'm just going to say it. Beyonce is my greatest rival. And I got that out. And now you all know how I feel. I feel my career was stolen.
We got a big scoop
Big
here.
scoop.
I like that.
I saved it for you.
You and Beyonce are going to be at each other's throats the rest of your lives now. You know what you've unleashed.
Oh, the beehive.
That's right. So like feminism is an interesting topic for you, I feel like, because you are certainly a feminist, I would say, as am I, as anybody that has a caring, progressive mindset, but you also aren't afraid to call out other women. You aren't afraid to just speak your mind, even when it goes against some of the progressive norms that you're not supposed to, of like not calling people out, right? So, or not saying anything that goes against a marginalized group, which to some degree women are, right?
Mm-hmm. What's the question?
I don't really know. What are your thoughts on that? Like, do you ever pull back? Do you ever pull punches? Or do you say, I don't care if I anger all women in comedy with this statement, I'm going to stick by my statement? Or if I don't know, you don't apologize.
Here are the truths. People get so caught up in like, apologize, do not apologize. Everybody acts like they've never made an errant judgment or a mistake or said something wrong or whatever. Apologies are almost worthless most times. What the angry mob does want is for you to burn. That's what it is. And what I've learned is that if you can just hold on for like the 48 hours that they're trying to feast on your brain, they'll get distracted by something else. I believe in issuing a sincere apology when you're like, that is not me. I shouldn't have said it. I also believe that punishments often outweigh crimes. And I think what people want is to see something shiny and someone successful completely be devoured alive. And so, Mr. Saturday Night is one of my favorite stand-up movies. And he's like, it's a comic's job when he sees bullshit, call bullshit. And you are on a different playing field as a woman because, you say something and you get held to a different standard. But I don't speak with any malintent. My objective is never to offend just for the fun of it. It's certainly never to shock. I always try to back up what I say with intelligence. And if something I say rubs someone the wrong way, I highly suggest you just move on. If there's ever something that I really feel I need to atone for and I can do it on like a large scale, I happily will. But most people sort of forget. And a big part of my act now, I was talking with another comic about it last night. It's like, oh, you may not like it, but I dare you to find the lie. Like that may have rubbed you the wrong way. And for every time someone gets offended, which by the way, I'm not in the business of offending people. I really love bringing people together. But by virtue of the fact that you're standing up there and withstanding all the slings and arrows of judgment, I always dare you to find the lie. And people get offended.
You're mentioning ethnic groups in your bits. You're mentioning, I've seen some of your new bits. You're like not afraid to make some generalizations that may be largely true.
I mean, and by the way, you come for everyone. It's not like you don't just pick one, you do it across the board. Nobody ever likes it when the thing is about their group, whatever that group is. But my thing is always like, would you have preferred that I put that joke 45 minutes in so we offend everyone else and you come last? Like, this is a tacit agreement. And if you want to find a more polarizing comic, I promise you can find one in the halls of any comedy club. This is an agreement between me and the audience. Like, we're working stuff out, we're trying. And I promise you what I'm saying comes from an intelligent place of heart. Why would I ever want to hurt people who spent money to see me? But, you get your fifis hurt once. You want to write me off? Okay.
But how do you write? Because like your writing has such a perspective. I once compared you, I tweeted that I think you're the most similar in a lot of ways to George Carlin these days, because you not only have something to say with your act, of course, and you say it with such passion and conviction, but also you're so musical with your performance. You bring such voices and characterizations and act outs in a way that most people don't put that kind of effort into their act. And I think that's—
Thank you, Ben. Thank you.
It's true. I think you're so good and you're so confident and you're so confident in your worldview. So I guess how do you write? How do you sit down and just throw away silly jokes that are nothing? Do you try to write from a perspective? Do you have an idea for a rant or something that pisses you off and then try to make it funny?
Yeah, I think it's probably more that. Like something will stick in my craw and I'll jot down like a word or two, and then I take that on stage and I'll just explore it. I don't physically sit at a computer and write. Like, I don't type out things. I don't write. My publicist warned me. He's like, don't say I don't write my jokes and then go on to elaborate, because they'll, you'll see like an article like female comic admits to not writing. I don't physically write them. I speak them, which is why I get up so much, so I can work through it. And I think a lot on, I just ruminate on these things, because if you're going to make a salient social point, you want it to be infallible. And you want to back it up with enough intelligence and, of course, comedy that nobody's going to, get offended or get upset. And so that's how I do it. It's a lot of like rants that my poor husband probably has to listen to, but it's a lot of conversations and thinking about it, coming home and just like thinking about it and putting into context the way I say it. Yeah.
You record the audio of your sets and play it back and make sure you're not forgetting punchlines that you riffed on stage?
God, I forget so many. I also love the school of two schools of thought. One, it's really horrible to have to listen to your own voice. And two,
I disagree. I love my own
That's
voice.
fair. Yeah, it's hard. And two, I think the good punchlines stick. Like, I think because of the frequency with which I do it, eventually it will just become part of it. So just keep running it. Yeah.
Okay, we only have about 15 minutes left. Sometimes you record it. Okay, we have 15 minutes left, and there's a lot more I want to cover. So you just ate your microphone. Are people aware of that? You're eating. You're kind of gnawing on the.
I'm not making a noise though, because people get
that was incredible
if they hear eating noises.
People don't like eating noises on podcasts, but you're eating it basically.
Just making a face.
Wow, very impressive. That wasn't even one of the things I wanted to cover, but I'm glad we did cover it. Any regrets in your life?
I mean, I regret ripping off all my fingernails the other day because they were growing so nicely. Ripped them off.
Damn.
No. And here's why. Because to regret it would mean that I had control at the time to have done it differently. And I really believe that I've always worked to the highest of my own capabilities. And I always felt I was doing what was right, and because I don't have a specific goal in this career, I just went in the direction that I had the most give and the most green lights.
That was stand-up.
That was stand-up. I regret other people not saying yes to me, but I regret their decisions.
That's the greatest quote. Eliza, do you have any regrets? I regret other people not saying yes more.
That's my answer.
That's hilarious.
But it's not something I was doing the best I could with what I had. Always will. Always have.
So is there anything that you don't like about your life now? You're hitting this level of acclaim and busyness and stardom and green lights. Is there anything that you don't like? Anything you're like, well, I didn't expect that? You'd like to make a shift to tone away from, or are you just loving every part of it?
I mean, look, this movie is doing so well, and it's such a gift, and it's so great, but we won't see the fruit that bears for a little bit, because, the whole town's on vacation, and we will see. My objective, and I always say this, is to be able to do my art on bigger and better levels, whether that's a play or creating a show or writing another book. I just want it to be easier to ascend and do what I want to do. I am shocked that at 38, I still find putting formal clothes on to be a battle. It's like breaking a horse, getting me in a blouse and tucked in pants. It's not that I don't like to look nice. I just
I love dressing up. Yeah,
I know you do. I know you do. I don't have outfits for that. Someone's like, you're invited to your cousin's tea party, and I was like, I don't have.
You're kind of an old Jewish lady inside a young Jewish lady's body.
I don't have this. I don't want to. I don't have frilly dresses, and it's not that I'm this. I just.
I remember one time we were at a party at your house, your annual Christmas party, and Jeff Ross and I are hanging out in the living room, and you had this whole hot dress on with heels, and for maybe an hour, and then you came downstairs with your heels off, and you're rubbing your feet, you're my feet hurt so much, oh my God, I can't, and it was just the topic of conversation for about 7 minutes, and we were both what's happening here? You were so glamorous 3 minutes ago. Why is this happening?
Why be uncomfortable in your own home? And then especially once you're married, we save it, but I'll have a friend come over. She'll be in tight jeans and a tucked in shirt. I'm like, who? A belt? No. So I don't think I'll ever have that gene. But the idea is you become so successful that becomes your brand, that you're wearing an oversized 7-Eleven t-shirt. with
so that'll
soccer
be
shorts.
That'll be you. You're going to be reverse Billie Eilish. You're going to get more and more casual and puffy clothing, baggy clothing.
I'm Adam Sandler. That's the vibe.
Okay.
Is that
all
look?
right?
And
Sure.
I'll take the career. Yeah.
Best of luck with that. I
Thank
love
you
it.
so much.
Gosh, so many things. Okay, so a couple of questions from our brain trust that people had for you before we quickly talk about the world for a few minutes. Question one, Kayla Gibson asks, who haven't you worked with that you'd love to work with?
I literally have worked with 4 people, so I'll take anyone that will get a project greenlit. I love Elizabeth Banks. I made that very clear when I met her. I think Kay Cannon is a great writer. She'd be great to work with. I'm trying to think of like people that like this could happen. I think Chris Pratt is very funny. I love Channing Tatum. Everybody knows that. I would love to do something else with Mark Wahlberg. The answer is like, who do you got? I'm not in a position to like turn down famous people. So I'll take all of those.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Question from Glenn Beebe. Will you put Ben Gleib in your next project?
Sure. Did you want 5 minutes at the Whitley on Friday? Because do you want me to talk about you in my book? Whatever the next thing is.
We're talking acting roles. We're talking acting roles. I think is what Glenn is asking.
Okay. All right. Sure.
I'm a very good actor. I don't know if you know this. I'll send you my reel. I'm a very good actor.
You please. I would never make you send. I believe you. You don't have to send me the reel. Let's get a project and we'll find you something.
I like that idea.
That's
what I asked Kevin Smith. I asked him just directly, and I was always so nervous to ever ask. And then he started giving me parts in his things. So
I'll tell you what. I'm on season 7 of Bosch this year, and it's because I went on. You said
you wanted to be on it, right?
I went on like a 15 tweet threaded rant about how much I love it, and then Titus Welliver came on my podcast, and they gave me a tiny part. That's all I wanted was like a quick shoot, and I'm Sergeant Christine Klotz from Internal Affairs on episode 7. Yeah,
that's fun.
It's great.
Brad Nachman wants to know who your biggest influence is.
Brad, I hate that question. And I hate you, Brad. I don't. You know why? Because the answer I'm supposed to give is like Richard Pryor. Like I was born in 1983. It's definitely not that. My answer is not stand-up comics. It is characters. So it's the women of SNL in the 90s, like Sherry O'Terry and Anna Gasteyer. And it's not that I reference them now, but this was super formative. Kids in the Hall was huge. In Living Color. Saturday Night Live in those years. And now it's tough because the comics I enjoy watching, I can't watch because then you start to sound like them. So it's tough.
I watch so little stand-up. I almost never watch anybody do stuff.
Most of it's not worth it. So totally.
Yeah, true.
Most of it's pretty bad.
Margaret Cho asked me to ask you if Tian Fu and Lucia, her little Asian dog, could be friends.
I don't think it's an Asian dog. I think her dog's a Chihuahua. And
she said little Asian dogs. She said Lucia and Tian Fu are little Asian dogs.
Well, far be it from me to argue with an Asian queer woman. I'll get canceled. Yeah. Of course, Tian Fu is she's not a social woman, but we'll make it so, Margaret. Next.
How do you compare Tian Fu to Blanche? What's the differences in your love and in the dog vibes?
Sure. Blanche was basically a human in tiny dog form with brown hair. And Tian Fu is very much a dog, not intelligent, however, has no problem being left alone. Blanche had like a crippling fear, which is why she came everywhere. Blanche was like having a toddler. Like she kind of understood things and could like walk on 2 legs and like build things. And Tian Fu is just a sweet baby girl who only wants to be with her parents and really doesn't like anyone else.
Cute.
Not social, doesn't leave the house. Yep.
We've got 7 minutes left. Let's quickly tackle the state of the world since this is Last Week on Earth.
Let's fix it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So what do you think is the biggest problem in our country and biggest problem in the world? Just start off.
Like, define problem. Like, economically, are we talking in like the ether, socially?
I think socially. Like what do you think the biggest issue here that we need to get back on track on or fix?
Okay, the environment is the biggest issue because it is the one thing that you cannot reverse, you cannot fix, and water is going to become a huge issue soon. The environment, people not caring about it. Socially,
well, so quickly, wait, before you go to socially, then quickly on the environment, I totally agree with you. But what do we do? How do we fix it? Because, like, not even to call you out specifically, but like I know, for example, something I've noticed. So you're super anti-single-use plastics, and you keep pushing your fans to not use them. in an Instagram story, but then sometimes the next Instagram story of yours will be all of these Sour Patch Kids packs that your fans gave you, and that's so much single-use plastics. So how do you reconcile these problems?
Well, that's a great point. And so when we started touring, I said, please be mindful of that. I can't control people. I can only put that out there, and I can only say, here's what I'm not for, but I can only control my own actions. So we have solar panels on our house. We don't use single-use plastic. We don't use paper towels. We don't eat a lot of meat. I drive an old hybrid. That being said, maybe there's someone else who does something else. So a big part of it is not attacking people, because you might give me Sour Patch Kid in plastic. By the way, there's plastic everywhere. Like, it's a drop. The fact that I don't use plastic bottles almost is nothing. It's futile. But I don't know what that person does. I don't know if they compost or if they're like, I don't know. So it is that thing, like that criticism right there of the whataboutism is a huge problem, because it paralyzes people from wanting to do anything.
Right. And
that is not only in the environment, that is socially. This is writing off people because you saw them do one mistake. Their whole life doesn't matter. And we also socially, we're so radical on the liberal and conservative side in our views that you begin to push people away rather than have a dialogue. Because people make a lot of money off being polarizing.
For sure. But how will it ever be able to stop? You think that's the biggest problem, is just how polarized we are because people we're addicted to the drama?
I mean, I don't know if that will ever stop. I think it's been really heightened with our last presidency, with COVID, because having to wear a mask, that brings up a lot of personal rights and civil rights issues. And then you have everybody, all of these, thank God, civil rights infractions infringements coming to life, like BLM or anti-Asian stuff or anti-Semitism, and people care, and then they kind of go back to their lives. So the question is, how do we make it a constant that we are more mindful and more accepting? And I think we're getting there. Like, we're at a different place socially than we were even a year ago in the way we think about things. And I guess the push is to always try to progress toward being more open-minded without losing our fucking minds.
If you were
and
president,
pay teachers more.
Pay teachers more, 100%. I've always said, flip the salaries of teachers in Congress and you would fix two major problems at once.
It's a great idea.
So if you were president, what would you do? What would some of your big tackles be? Other than environmental stuff, I agree, we have to tackle that much more seriously. What would you do to fix our problems, to bring people together?
I don't know. How many nukes do I get?
All of them.
What kind of resources do I have? I don't know. It's not something that I've really thought about. I definitely would implement some sort of healthcare where it's not mandatory that you pay into universal healthcare, but we should be taking care of people. We should be doing more preventative healthcare and maybe incentivize people to be more preventative. Women's healthcare should definitely be something. This is over half the people, and it's a little bit of a joke. I would legalize prostitution. It's a whole bit that I have, so I'll spare you. And I would definitely find a way to take some power away from our gun lobbyists, because it's been proven because every time you try to argue something like that, it's like, well, the guy who shot up that mall, he did have a background check. And so I would start to implement things to just try to maybe it's mental health funding. I don't know. And I'm going to probably get canceled for even saying any of that. But I think there's got to be a way to persuade people without having them dig their heels in. More conversations, less absolutism.
I agree with that. It's a hell of a platform you just launched from the top of your head. I think this might be a 2024 run.
I don't know. I still need that 10 hours of sleep. And there's a lot of sexy pictures of me
Presidents can
online.
do that now. And apparently first ladies can have nude pictures. I feel like you're okay.
I'm not positive how Congress works, and I think that might come up in the debate.
Do you regret having posted certain sexy pictures? Because you've posted some very racy ones over the years, like practically fully nude, like at the sink in the bathroom.
No, what I regret is our nation's puritanical grip on female sexuality that forces women to have to shroud their innate sexuality with a post or a caption. If we regulated women's bodies less and made it less of a fucking big deal if a woman's proud of her body, we would be a healthier society.
But men don't post pictures like that. Why do you think
that they do? Yes, they do. They do. Trust me, I look. Whether it's a trend. What?
I don't think men who aren't just known for that, maybe male models do, but typically a male stand-up comedian is not going to ever post a naked picture of himself in the bathroom.
Because they're fucking gross and nobody wants to see that. I work out. I'm proud of my body. And And also, especially when you're single, you know, this is a calling card and you're like, oh, I hope somebody cute, you know, I attract someone. I don't really do that now that I'm married because I'm just in a different space, but I never begrudge women doing it because, you know, social media is all about attention, whether you want to agree with that or not. It's just the truth. And, you know, a woman might use her body for attention because this is the way we've been taught to commodify these things. Just as you see a guy next to his private jet or with a stack of money or working out. So everybody boasts within the ways that societal constructs have said it's okay to do.
But do you think sorry to cut you off, but do you think that's just because it was commodified by society, or do you think there also is just a certain extra attractive things women have that men don't have? Like, I think women, just as you said, men are gross and women have attractive bodies that should, of course, they should be able to you employ them as much as or little as they like. But it's okay to say that women are different than men in that way. Like, I have a bit I've been trying to develop for years that like separate but equal is horrible for race, but it's fine for men and women. It's fine for gender.
Right. That's what I'm saying is that everybody has their things that are valued, right? Like unfortunately, a woman's brain is never at first as valued as much as her looks. Now that speaks to the fact that men and women are wired differently. So I talk about this on stage. Men are visual and women are cerebral. Men are visual. So to attract a man, I'm going to want to attract him visually, and then I can go in for the kill with how funny I am. But women are cerebral. So that is why in my movie, I end up with someone who's not attractive because he was smart and kind and funny. And women can be attracted to those things. So, you know, even discussing the fact that a woman might trade on something that she's been taught to value, and then we get vilified for it, really shows that double standard and how impossible it is for women. When you look at it, even when women vilify other women, all it comes down to is a fear of not being able to fertilize your own eggs. That's what it all comes down to. There's no reason to dislike a woman for posting a sexy picture.
That's why That's why this big move of body positivity in recent years is so amazing. It's just basically let people, or even sex positive with the current Bachelorette, like embracing anybody that embraces any part of themselves in that way. And I guess my last question to you is, do you think then the Kardashians have been a net huge positive for our society? I kind of think they have been.
You know, it's, you know, we've all made Kardashian jokes. I did in one of my first specials because that's what we were doing at the time. People also forget that like there's a societal temperature at a time. And now it's like, how could you have like made fun of Britney? It's like people were doing it. I don't fucking know. There's also something to be said for the way you present yourself. You know, the Kardashians, I promise they've reaped their reward. Like they're okay. And they have their own misfortunes and mental things they have to deal with. But if we're just talking about body positivity, I will say this. The body that is in right now is white women emulating an African-American body type, right? Larger thighs, a larger butt. And this is the Kardashians emulate it with surgery. Kim Kardashian is a curvier girl. And so it is unattainable and insane to try to look like something you're not. You know, I had like a nose job at 18, like people get little things, but that level of it, the God's honest truth is if you want to do it and it makes you happy, it probably won't. But if it does, fucking do it. What I'm grateful for as a girl that has thighs and has breasts and a butt, they've made that body type acceptable.
Right.
I can buy jeans that fit. I can see underwear where it isn't this rail thin thing. So things always trickle down. And what we're getting from it is Black women don't have to be as maligned as they've always been with their hair and their bodies and their culture, even if white people are stealing from it. Latino women, you can quote unquote let it all hang out because it's more acceptable. And that goes for white girls too that have bodies. Like you don't have to feel so bad that you're not rail thin size 0, because there are brands out there now that say like, hey, it's okay if you don't look like Kate Moss, like you can still wear our shit. Yeah. And I think that that's a good thing. I think women feeling good about their bodies is never a bad thing.
So one actual last question, because I don't want to end on asking you about the Kardashians. You said that probably won't make you happy, but try if you want. So what in your estimation, in your life experience, what's the key to happiness?
You know what? I actually don't know, but I remember asking my mom like the meaning of life or something. And I think I wasn't really listening, but I think she said something.
Your mom is such a character.
Great. I think it was something about like making other people's lives better is like something that's very enriching. Now, stand-up comedy is an incredibly selfish endeavor, as is all art, because you are doing it for yourself in order to reach people. but
makes
the
people
older
so
I
much
get,
happier.
for sure. I mean, if it's good, there's a lot of bad comment that makes people sad.
Yep.
The older I get, the more I enjoy like getting presents for people, helping people with opportunities, lifting up people I genuinely believe in. And to be able to get to a place where you can be in a position to help someone, especially when no one ever gave you help. I find that extremely satisfying and gratifying and fulfilling. So I think it's leaving the world a little bit better, even if it's just your corner of the world, a little bit better than you found it.
And even if you have to have a focus that pisses some people off along the way, if you're going towards this greater good.
I guess, I mean, then you sound like a cult leader, like I'm doing this for the greater good. I mean, I don't think about it that way. I also don't think I really think if I piss people off, like you were not going to like me from the get-go. I don't really say that many polarizing things. I'm not like on the news. It's not like a political, like I kind of just do my thing. I often find that when people have like vitriol toward me, I represent something to them that they have an issue with. It's seldom me. And that's another part of just existing happily, is being like, that's on you. You don't like me. That is on you. I did not set out to hurt you, but I will. No, I didn't.
Well, people have now heard you for a little bit over an hour, and I would assume they like you a lot more.
They fucking better. I tried.
They fucking better. We will make them. We'll find them. We'll find you.
We'll find you. Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for doing it. Your first time back in about 10 years.
I like to leave a 10-year gap, leave them wanting more, come back,
Yeah.
Show the evolution.
Talk about a cliffhanger. I really like that. It was our Valentine's Day episode in like 2011. I'm pretty sure it was the last time you were on.
I can't believe 2011 was 10 years ago. That's the weirder part.
Weird. So flippin' weird. I know you have to go. Thank you so much for doing the podcast. I miss you. I'm glad we got to hang out even virtually. You're the best.
I love you. I miss you. I have to go because we trapped a skunk in my backyard and the trapper is here. Ooh. So that's why. It's horrible. The whole house smells. He will be humanely removed.
I hope that's a cage that doesn't let smells out. Obviously, that would be the whole kind of point, right?
Oh, there's smells everywhere. He got very angry earlier this morning and butt sprayed like everywhere. So I'm living in my own personal olfactory hell right now. That's what's happening.
I'm so sorry to hear that. Despite the odors emanating into your house, you made the time. Thank you so much. I love you.
Bye, Ben. Love you. Okay,
bye.
I'm going to have Emily turn to this. Okay, bye.
Sounds good.
Thank you. Okay, Emily's going to do it. I'll talk to you later, Ben. Thank you.
Talk to you later. Bye, Iliza.
Okay, bye.
Hello, everybody. I obviously have to get ready now for SDSC, but I hope you enjoyed that talk, that live. This better audio version of that will be on the podcast in a few days, and I hope you will enjoy it. I hope you enjoyed it live now. I will be recording Twitter answers after SDSC today and doing a little intro to introduce the thing, and then that will be uploaded and posted as an audio-only podcast, but this version will live on everywhere else. And let me just quickly look through your guys' comments so that I can honor all of you guys taking the time to be here with us live. Ralph, 2 of your favorite comics. That's kind of you, Ralph. Thank you so much. Tam, hurtful. 50 years, you were 5 and she was an egg. Hurtful. But I get it. And also I got your package today. Thank you so much. What else we got here? You two need to come to Seattle soon. Don't disagree. What else we got? Vibration is louder than most ringtones. For cell phones, I think you mean. I don't think that's true. You need to maybe put a little cloth under your phone. Druthers is a mashup of I'd rather. I'd rather. Oh, I see that. Do. What else we got? Such an interesting story. It's crazy. You met the guy. Oh, yeah. He was in my damn apartment. Pretty wild. What else we got here? Thank you, Eric. I really appreciate that comment. What else we got here? Hello, Stephanie. Pleasure. Much love and hugs to you. Being a dick is not illegal. That's why I started the Don't Be a Dick Pledge. You can all check that out at tinyurl.com/don'tbeadickpledge and sign it if you haven't yet, because we all need to agree to not be dicks. This has been a loop in my hair the whole damn time. What is this shit? Boy. What else we got here? Crocs are the fucking worst. Randy, I think you know that. I hope everybody knows that. And I certainly do not hate Steve. I love Steve. He's one of my closest friends and business partner and co-host. Love them so much. Obviously, you're joking. That's why there was a winky face at the end there. I didn't see the winky face till the end. Needed to correct the record there. What else we got? Randy recommends Good on Paper for everybody to watch. It was fantastic. I do agree. Really proud of Iliza for it. Yes, I put my own question in there. That'd be fun if it leads to a part in one of her upcoming movies or sketches or something. We've done a lot of things over the years, but not recently, so I would love that very much. And I probably will send Iliza my acting reel, even though she doesn't want it. I will send it. What else we got here? Yeah, it'd be good if somebody could fix those Google results for sure, Duggan. I'm going to take that off the screen, in fact. And Randy Longmire says, how dare you say my body is gross? It's true, but how dare you say it? Strong question. Very strong question. I'm glad you enjoyed, and I'm glad that you have discovered my podcast, Saint Abe. Glad you guys had a good time. You missed 10 years. Yes, you did. You missed 10 years, Steve. So please subscribe and start catching up. I've had all the great guests, Bryan Cranston, Sophia Bush, Meghan McCain, Blake Griffin, General Wesley Clark, the former NATO Supreme Allied Commander for our troops. We've had Alyssa Milano. We've had just a lot of interesting characters over the years. All the great comics, Bobby Lee, Andy Dick, Adam Ray, Moby. I mean, just crazy, man. I guess my parents have been on 7 times. They've been wonderful. Ben Morrison's a frequent guest. Steve Hofstetter and Chris Bowers have been on. Thank you very much, John. I appreciate that. You like my hair. Glad you liked Iliza as a guest. Kayla. We've had just crazy amount of guests. I'm forgetting enormous, wonderful, hilarious people. We've had them all on over the years. Kelly Carlin and just so many wonderful, amazing people. So please check that out. Please do check out my Patreon at patreon.com/Ben Gleib. We have private video hangs, personal one-on-one video hangs, free tickets to my shows, access to watch them after they happen, my virtual shows, free tickets to in-person shows. I'll write you personal letters, a drawing I'll mail you on a canvas, all kinds of stuff. The author I had on a few months ago, the older woman, Rianne Eisler, she was absolutely incredible as well. A lot of wonderful people. So thank you guys. Oh, and I will be, it's patreon.com/Ben Gleib, and I will be in DC at the DC Loft September 30th and October 1st and 2nd. I'll be in Aspen in August. I'll be, I think, in December in Phoenix, and November or December in in Vancouver, rather. A lot of fun stuff. So please check that out, bengleib.com. All my tour dates, my merch is there at bengleib.com. Of course, check out Iliza. Follow her at Iliza, I believe, on Twitter, and at Iliza with an S at the end, Iliza's on Instagram, and all that good stuff. The conversation wasn't so funny. We talked very seriously, as I sometimes do on this podcast when I have guests, unless it's just the point is to riff. But I like talking deep with Iliza, so I wanted to bring you guys a little taste of what our friendship hangs are like. And that is it. I thank you guys for being with us. And I'll say this officially at the end of the podcast later, but until last week, next week, this has been Last Week on Earth.